Well, Phil, you asked me something about the last 10 years that I've been coming to Tanzania. I started coming for reasons that had nothing to do with water. I came at first to help a young missionary couple get set up and established in a village that they decided to call their homes. And I worked with them for 6 weeks, helping them build fences, just overall maintenance and getting a home set up for them. But for the 6 weeks that I was working with them in a little village called Bonga, about 32 kilometers west of Babati, while I was working with them, I always drank fresh, clean water. I had a bottle sticking out of the back of my pocket. So it was readily available. Well, every day while I was drinking that water out of a bottle out of the back of my pocket, I was watching the local population drink water that, quite frankly, they couldn't even see through. And as they drank that water, I'm sure they were wondering at the same time why they were getting sick and why oftentimes their children were dying. After about 6 weeks, I went home and couldn't get this thought out of my mind. Couldn't get the images out of my mind of what I had been seeing. Began to look into ways that perhaps I could be a part of the solution. Thought about just writing a check to some organization. That's always a good thing to do. Generally, a good thing to do. But I didn't know who would go to villages like Bonga. What organization would go just to help solve the problems of the people in villages just like that? Finally found an organization that partnered with me and allowed me to be a part of the solution. Began coming and researching and collecting data, and began to learn about water, about hydrology, about drilling, things that I knew nothing about to begin with. I'm just a businessman in San Antonio, Texas. But as time moved on, I found that I could do something. And going through a process of learning, of applying, and partnering with so many people. It's not something that any one person can do on their own. You need to have partners. You need to have people with like passions and desires, just to reach out and to help people, especially with something so fundamentally basic as clean drinking water. There's so many stories I could tell you, but I can say that the solutions have a great impact on the lives of people. It impacts them in so many different ways. Health is a big issue, and just simply by having clean water, access to clean water, reduces so many diseases. I mean, from what I'm told, more children in the world die today of diarrhea than any other disease. And these diseases, the disease of diarrhea, is directly related to the lack of access of clean drinking water. So wow, health takes a big positive step just by having access to clean water. Education is another one that just blows me away. When I go to villages where I see the children, and I'm told about the children looking for water all day long. By doing that, they can't go to school. So by developing water projects right near the school ground, education takes a big step forward, because now the children come to school to get some sort of education, and they bring their empty pails and buckets and vases to the classroom, and when school is out, they can pump up clean water and they take it home. So education is impacted by clean water. I'm amazed when I see how much commerce and business is impacted by clean drinking water. The boys and the men, whether they're working in the fields to grow maize or rice, or they're tending to their flocks, when they're lying in a bed with fever, with malaria, with dysentery, they can't be in the fields. Clean drinking water has a tremendous impact on them being able to earn a living and to feed their families. Amazing to me. But one of the most amazing things to me is the issue dealing with women. I can tell you about a village called Diloda. And when I arrived in this village, it was a very remote place. And I was taken there because of the suffering, because I asked to see places like Diloda. When I got there, I learned that women were walking up to 19 kilometers round trip to bring clean water to their families. It would take a day to get there. They were out overnight because there were a lot of climbing, a lot of mountains to traverse. And they were coming back. And what was happening to them on this trip, the women and the girls, who, by the way, have the greatest responsibility to locate and collect water for their families, what was happening to these women and these girls is they were being ravaged by thugs along the way. They were being raped. They were being beaten. They were acquiring HIV/AIDS, looking for clean drinking water. Amazing, isn't it? Just to think about that. Through the caring love and the contributions of people all around the world, we were able to drill 2 beautiful boreholes in that village. The women were just beside themselves with joy because they knew now that the water that they desperately needed was in their village, and they did not have to walk that 19 kilometers and face the terror and the horror of the past. It's still amazing to me today, after all these years, when water is pumped for the very first time to the surface. And when I look at the faces of the women and the children and the men who see this water, what's amazing is that they are seeing for the first time that water was something that was clear. That's something that you could see through. Before then, they had no idea that water was something that you could see through. Blows me away to even think about that. So I'm a very fortunate man. I'm a very blessed man. I will go as long as I have breath and the strength to stand up, because the need seems overwhelming. There are numbers, huge numbers of the people who need clean water, access to clean water. I don't know what those numbers are. I just know that every day in Tanzania, East Africa, there are countless thousands of people who don't have access to clean drinking water. And we're going to do what we can, one at a time, one village at a time, one family at a time, to help them for the first time in their lives have access to clean water. So anyone that's out there that wants to be a part of this work, a part of this ministry, as they say in Tanzania, karibu sana. Come and join us in any way you can.